Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, the Pots and Pans Network brings to you its tag team champions of the world, the Potsy and Tino Show, starring Tino Gray and Rob Potsy Potchak. That's right. The Old Age Outlaws. Our theme song is always brought to you by the... Who's it brought to us by?
Adam's House Cat.
Right?
Huh?
It's brought to us by Adam's House Cat. And it's called The Wrestling Bar. It's available on iTunes for 99 cents.
99.
I don't know what you just said, but
99.
99 cents. So, Tino, I was gone for a week.
Yeah.
And, you know, we always start with this little segment. It's called What's Up With You?
Same shit.
Normally, I ask you what's up with you first because I want you to talk.
I said same shit. My knee. So, did I talk to you since I told you I tore the meniscus, the MCL, and the ACL, right?
Yeah.
So, I started physical therapy this week. I thought physical therapy, you might, lay on the table, they work with your knee. They might get you to walk around a little bit. When did physical therapy turn into fucking Planet Fitness? The first thing this mug made me do was get on an exercise bike for 8 minutes. And then he had me doing these leg lifts on my toes. I felt it more in my calves, but I guess it's all connected because it's right there in your knee. Then I had to do these leg lifts in the front and in the back. And then he had me doing squats. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? So it was an hour and I'm sweating. So now I have to do this twice.
Hold on for a second. Does this guy know that you tore your meniscus, your ACL, and your MCL? Yeah.
So apparently, the physical therapy is supposed to be strengthening the MCL, which is it's what supports your knee, and then so I have enough of that support. So when I go in and have to do the surgery on the ACL, I'll already have some support, so it'll be a little stronger. Is the logic, but yeah, I'm like squats. So I got to wear the knee brace and still got my knee brace. I got to do crutches. He said, someplace like around the house, I can hobble along. If I go some places like stores, no, but some places if I feel comfortable, I can just use one crutch if I'm feeling comfortable. But I don't trust stores like, wet floors and slipping and falling again. I'd rather have both crutches. And either way, I'm not walking around in the store because so when you're not hurt, those little motorized carts look so cool until you have to use it. And then you're just like, I hate this thing. Like, so that's that. Matthew turned 12 Thursday. He started middle school last week. He got his little phone. He is doing, because in 6th grade, you can't try out for sports yet. He can't try out for sports till 7th grade. So he just found out that he gets to be the team manager. What are you doing?
I was giving the finger.
Why?
That's horrible. You can't try out for sports until you're a certain age. That's like ageism.
Yeah, well, he gets to be the team manager, so that the coaches get to see him. He gets to still go out and pretty much throw the ball around with the players anyway and get them water and do all that stuff. So when he tries out next year, the coaches know him and he has a better shot, I guess, and getting on a team. So, and Haley's Haley. So that's about excitement. I'm trying to think anything else exciting happened. Nah. What about you? I know you were going out of town.
So I was. You ready for a really crazy week?
Oh, God. Okay.
I'll try to keep it as short as possible. So I buy a brand new phone the Friday before I go out of town, right?
So why'd you buy a new phone?
The battery wasn't holding up and everything. You know how phones get after you've had them for 2 years? Like, they're just pieces of shit. Like no matter what you do with your phone's a piece of shit after 2 years. Like, doesn't matter if it's an iPhone 17 or
Yeah,
whatever.
iPhones
It's
lasted good 5-6 years. Those damn Androids suck ass. So,
no, 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 no. The iPhone will last 18 months because they tell you that you sign your contract for 2 years and you can't get a new phone for 2 years. So they give you 6 months of that 2 years. So you get 18 good months, and that last 6 months is like, God, this phone is terrible.
you never had an iPhone. So, where do you, how do you know what you're talking about? I
Because I
never
know
had that problem.
because I know what I'm talking about.
I
Because
never had that
you,
problem.
you didn't
And on
even
my
you
iPhone,
didn't even start disputing it. So you know
because I
what
was
you
letting
know
you,
I'm
I was
right.
letting you,
The
I was
battery
letting you,
doesn't last as long and everything else. Like the phone just starts acting like crap. Don't give me any shit
this
because
part,
because
I have not put
Apple
this
Apple
phone
wants
in.
you to trade your phone in every fucking year. Don't
I
don't
haven't
start
put this
with me
phone
on
in.
this stuff. You know I'm right.
No,
They
you're not.
purposely put out a brand
Actually,
new phone every 12 months
and you don't have
because
to
of
buy
it.
one. I've had this
So
phone for over a year, and I charged this bitch yesterday, and I still don't need to charge it. It's still over half charged. And you know how I use my phone. So I don't know what's going on with your Android, but don't come over
so
here. Don't
so
come over here
anyway,
talking about Apple that you don't know.
so we're gonna go ahead. We're just gonna go ahead and continue my story because your story's full of shit. So
So okay.
so anyway, I get a brand new phone, brand new battery, all this stuff. Everything's great, right? I get it on Friday before I go out of town. Sunday, we go to leave. The phone slips out of my pocket, right? As I'm slamming the car door shut. So Tino, I'm gonna show this to the world.
What am I looking at?
Hold on, hold on. Uh, you can't really see it. You see, there it is.
Ooh. Yeah.
So my phone now I want to point out in the last 7 years, I have not dropped, cracked, destroyed a phone at all. I go on vacation after buying a brand new phone for the first time in like 5 years, and I slam it in the car door. Now, it doesn't crack the main screen. Main screen's fine. Cracks the fucking camera screen. Now, I always put insurance on my phone. So at some point, I'll pay the $29 to get the camera screen replaced and everything else. But are you fucking serious? Like I literally have never dropped a phone.
Until now.
And then 2 literal days. I'm not even kidding. 2 days. In fact, it technically wasn't even 2 full days. It was like 36 hours later.
Tearing shit up.
I slam a car door on my phone. So that's not the only thing that happened to me on this vacation. So my sister said, "Hey, normally when things happen bad, they happen in threes."
Oh God, she got you.
And I'm sitting there, I'm like, what the fuck's she talking about, right? Like, well, we go out like the second night we're there. And we stop at this place that it's basically like a beer place that's also like burgers and whatever else, right? So they offer flights of beer. So 4 different beers. You get to choose which beers you want, and it's my kind of place, right? Till the waitress dumps one of my brother-in-law's beers directly on me. Now, Tino, that's not all. So So the girl there, she basically said, "It's my second day. I can't imagine having a worse moment on my second day," right? And we're all like, "Hey, it's okay." I mean, I got beer all over me, whatever, like we're gonna get up from here, we're gonna go back to the car, we're gonna go back to the unit, and we're gonna be fine. No big deal. The next night, we go to a really expensive restaurant. Now, this is my sister, my brother-in-law, me, and our buddy Fubar.
How come Fubar always goes on vacations with you?
That's kind of what I wanted. Well, you would have been invited if you would have wanted to take time off and gone.
Nobody asked.
I'll start asking, but if it's just you and it's not Nicole and everybody else, you're gonna get told no anyway.
Whatever.
So anyway, the very next night, I sit there and I say, "Man, I really want a steak." Like you go on vacation, you want to get at least one good steak in. You know what I mean? Like you just want to. You love it. You want to get like a New York strip or a filet mignon or whatever your favorite cut of meat is. You want to get one good steak. So I order a really good steak. I order a New York strip. And Fubar's sitting next to me. And for those that don't know, Fubar has been my friend longer than Tino. Like I've known Tino for, at this point, we're saying 22 years.
Yeah, because Fubar was
because I was still old enough to drink when I met you. So
yeah,
21. So I'm 43. So 22 years. Yeah. But I've known Fubar since he was like 17 years old, and Fubar is almost 40 at this point. So I've known him a little bit longer than I've known Tino. Why I ordered the steak, and my brother-in-law orders like, I don't know, this appetizer dish of like clams. Okay. So that they can open up the clam shells, take the little clam out, put it in and Fubar goes to like dip one of the clams into the butter, and the butter shoots up and just from here down all over me. So, and I'm talking like across my crotch area is nothing but liquid butter. So it's not gonna dry out like if you dumped a glass of water on somebody, right?
Like you pissed yourself.
So it doesn't just look like first of all, it's warm. So it doesn't look like I pissed myself. It feels like someone else pissed on me. And then on top of that, it looks like to everybody else that, yes, I pissed on myself. So, of course, first thing to come out of my mouth is, "John, I know that you didn't mean to do this." I look right at Fubar. I say, "John, I know you didn't mean to do this." And my sister is sitting there saying, "It's not his fault." And I'm like, you do realize that I understand it's not his fault that he accidentally hit the cup and it poured all over me. But it doesn't change the fact that I am so astronomically like angry at the moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's nothing that is going to stop me from being angry at that moment. Like, and here's what boggles my mind. My sister gets mad at me about the fact that I'm mad in this moment, right?
Why would? Oh.
Well, hold on. This is my sister, though. My 4'11" sister who gets angry at you saying that she's not 5 foot tall, right? So
we know she's not.
So I sit there, I'm getting angry at this, and she's like, "Why are you angry?" And I'm like, "Are you serious? I literally cannot stand up and go to the bathroom because it looks like I pissed all over myself, and I'm gonna walk past 4-year-olds who are gonna be like, that man peed on himself." You know what I mean? I literally am just furious. And I'm not furious at John. I'm not furious at the table. I'm not even furious at the waiter because, like at least the night before that, the waitress was the one that dumped the beer on me. So if I was going to be angry, I would be angry at the waitress. And I wasn't even angry at the waitress, though everybody was like, "Rob, why didn't you sit there and tell her it was okay?" That motherfucker, the reason why I didn't tell her it was okay is because I was still processing the fact that you poured beer all over me. Like, you don't just instantly go, "Totally okay. Just do what you got to do." You don't do that. There is no way in anything that you ever just sit there and go, "Hey, you know how you just poured an entire 6-ounce beer on top of me? Totally cool. Don't worry about it." Nobody, not a single person on earth is ever going to just be like, "I wipe my hands of that. Thank you for pouring that beer on me." Am I wrong?
No.
So the fact that my sister and brother-in-law are like, "I can't believe you didn't explain to that woman that it was okay what she did." I'm like, it's because it's not okay.
If it had been them, they wouldn't have been okay.
So half an hour goes by the way, when this isn't the John one, this isn't the Fubar warm butter all over me. This is the first night. This is the beer. Her name's Nikki. She's a really nice girl. It's her second night after training. And she goes, "I really appreciate that it sounds like this was the right table if I was going to make a mistake." And I'm like, "Well, that's great." And I'm sitting there making fun of it and doing everything that I can to try to sit there and be okay with the moment. Because I wasn't okay with the moment. I had beer all over me. And it wasn't even a beer I wanted. Okay? She finally sits there and goes, "Do you want me to go get the manager for you?" And I'm like, "No, I don't want you to get the manager for me." But what would have been nice is after you poured a beer on me, is if you would have offered to buy me a beer.
It wasn't your beer she spilled.
You're not wrong. It wasn't my beer that she spilled, but it was a beer she spilled on me. And that's, had she sat there and said, "Hey, I'm going to replace the beer that I spilled and pay for it for him," that's one thing, but you still poured a beer on me.
She didn't pour it on you. She tripped. It's not like she stood there and went,
No. She didn't trip. She went to move so we ordered flights, And she put his flight in front of me and my flight in front of him. And as she went to move the flight, she knocked the one over on me. So even still, again, I think the right thing to do, especially when I'm not sitting there being a Karen, is, hey, I got that beer for you. I'm going to get one of the 4 of your flight. Cool. No problem. And you know what? Even though she didn't do that, I didn't care. Because she was still pretty good about everything. She ran up, she gave me napkins, tried to, the dude the next night. Now, first of all, totally not his fault at all. He put the butter down. He put napkins down for everybody. And yet somehow the napkin on my left leg did not cover any of the Dexter blood spatter coming across me of butter.
Now, we all know, had Fubar partaken in any alcohol in adult beverages at the time of this accident?
Not as many as you might think.
So we know Fubar.
But we do know Fubar.
That's why he's called Fubar.
That is why he's called Fubar. But anyway, so my job sits there and goes, and they're talking about like these crazy, like, hey, this week has been really nuts. And I'm sitting there and I'm on vacation, right? And I've got it blocked so I can't see any of those messages. And I read the messages and I go, oh shit. So it's not just me. Like everybody's having this crazy shit happen, right? So I sit there and go, hey guys, I had the messages blocked because I didn't want to read it on my vacation. Hope you understand. But if you really want to hear some crazy shit, how about the fact that slammed my phone in the car door 2 days after buying it, get a beer thrown on me by a waitress when we're just sitting there waiting for our food to show up, and then on top of all of that, also get, butter, warm melted butter thrown on my lap. So it looks like, and by the way, thank goodness we had Palmolive in the room, because I literally put it in the kitchen sink with Palmolive all over the spots that looked like they had been hit by liquid butter, and my shorts look fine. And then, just so you know, it wasn't just me that was having crazy shit happen. My brother-in-law, Shane, sits there and goes to the convenience store to grab something to wipe off his glasses. And while he's cleaning his glasses, he hears something shatter and hit the ground. And he goes, that sounds like my glasses. But yet he was cleaning his glasses when that happened, right? Interestingly enough, one half of his glasses fell and shattered on the ground while he was cleaning the other half of his glasses. So it wasn't just me that was being hit by. So you know what I asked?
Did he take his glasses off to clean them?
Well, he took the glasses off and he was cleaning them, and one half of the glasses fell off of the other half. So I sat there, and Tino, you're old enough to catch this reference, I hope. I sat there and said, which one of us picked up the little tiki from the Brady Bunch? Now I want you to explain that to everybody.
Well, I know what you're talking about. I don't think I've ever seen that episode. Went like a little tiki doll, and it brought them all bad luck in the house.
So the family in one of the episodes goes to Hawaii, And one of the kids picks up a tiki doll, and the tiki doll is supposed to be a bad luck charm. And everything that happens to them after picking up this tiki doll is a bad luck moment. And guess what? It seemed like somebody randomly picked up a bad luck charm, and it caused me to have 3 bad luck things, my brother-in-law Shane to have a bad luck thing. You know, all this crazy shit happening.
Well,
now, granted, my sister announced today she wanted to go out to dinner, and I was already out. I was actually going shopping and trying to pick up some stuff for the rest of the week. But she said that she got a 20% raise this week.
Nice. So she didn't pick up the tiki doll.
So she did not pick up the tiki doll. In fact, it was her husband that had the bad problem with the glasses. So it had nothing to do with her. Now, I got home. I'm working today, and I'm looking at my thermostat, and I'm like, it says it's 74 in here. The fuck is going on? So I set it to 70. It gets down to 73. Doesn't go any lower. So I'm like, something's not right with this. So now I think that I've even got problems with my thermostat right now. Yeah.
Terrible.
Tino.
Terrible.
You ready for your favorite moment of the week?
GameStop story.
Oh, look at that. GameStop story of the week. So I got a good one. I've been trying to think of some good ones.
To do with the van, I don't think you've topped that one yet.
So, okay, this one might not top the van, but I can't tell this person's real name.
Okay.
Because it's one of those types of stories. So, all right. Folks, if you're listening, if you've worked at GameStop, you kind of understand how this works. But if you have never worked at GameStop, yeah, I'm gonna enlighten you. So, all right, Tino. You got a drink?
No.
All right. Well, I got one.
All right.
So, all right. So about 7 years into my stead at GameStop, my boss, Kevin, and I'll give his real name, Kevin. Actually, I'm going to start with something else, okay? And it's not funny. It's not good. It's actually a very down to earth moment. I already told everybody that my buddy Justin passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And Justin was a GameStop store manager who worked his way all the way up from like part-time position through store manager. And for those listening, a bunch of us GameStop former store managers or store managers even currently are planting a tree in his honor. And I think that's huge. I think that's a really cool thing because it's something that's going to continue to live on after everything, right? And it's important because I keep talking about how like I don't really get emotionally hit by any of this stuff, right? And yet I'm becoming more and more emotionally hit by different things that have nothing to do with my friend's passing or anything else. And I think that ultimately it's all got to do with that. You know, like I watched Heels this week.
Yeah, I did too.
And I watched the 3rd episode, which is the most recent, or is the 3rd episode the most recent episode?
Yeah. Because this
and
was
you know, like
or something.
You see Ricky Rabies sitting there talking about how family's so important and everything else. CM Punk, right? And there's emotional moments in there, and it all seems to hit me. But yet when it comes to real life, I'm not being hit by those moments, and I almost feel like someone who has taken their hand and put it on the stove to where their hand can't feel the heat anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Make sense? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But because you like these GameStop stories so much, I remembered one. And it's about a guy, and I'm not going to say what his name is. We're going to call him Stu. Okay? And Stu, I got told constantly, wasn't a good employee. Needed to get fired. And I was like, I'm going to make this guy an assistant manager. I'm gonna continue to work with him. I'm gonna prove you wrong, and I'm gonna make him an assistant manager. Now, really, I was sitting there saying, I'm gonna make him a key holder. I wasn't gonna make him an assistant manager, but I was like, you're gonna sit there and laugh, but he's gonna be an assistant manager someday, even though I'm gonna make him, a key holder. I'm gonna work with him, and he's gonna be a key holder, and you're gonna eat your words. Well, that didn't happen. I ate my words when it came to Stu. But everything I said about Stu was right. So he became an assistant manager for the stores, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at some point, Stu got fired, okay? And Stu posted on his own personal Facebook page, and of course, I'm not going to say what his real name is because I don't want anybody to know. But during the process of getting fired and on his own personal Facebook page, he posted something that said along the lines of, all I ever did was do my job, and I got fired because GameStop just didn't think that I was doing enough.
Okay.
So now I'm going to give the rest of the story with that. Like remember the old, and now the rest of the story. Remember those?
Yeah.
So you're old enough to remember that. I'm old enough to remember it. I can't remember what the dude's name was, but I always liked those, the rest of the story. So turns out Stu went to work that day and sat on the counter, right? With his legs hanging over the counter. And his girlfriend came in. And his girlfriend started feeding him French fries or chicken McNuggets or whatever it was. We couldn't tell based on what we saw in the video, right? Now,
All sorts of video.
Now, Tino, let me ask you, if on video you weren't doing your job and the video showed that you weren't paying attention and you were being fed chicken McNuggets or whatever from your significant other rather than doing your job, would that be enough to fire you?
Yeah.
Okay. So you agree with me that that would be enough to fire you. So Stu, by the way, did not think that it was enough to fire him. That he was eating the chicken McNuggets and French fries and everything, and she was dipping them in ketchup and feeding them directly to him or whatever. But so
He's
let me
sitting on the
ask
counter.
you this: if we added to the ambiance of the situation, a person walked in, walked past Stu, walked behind Stu, behind the counter of a GameStop store, and proceeded to steal 6 PlayStation 4 controllers, averaging roughly $60 in cost. So let's say $250 worth of product. And then proceeded to walk around Stu again and walk all the way out the door of the store. Would that be enough to fire somebody?
He didn't see the guy. He didn't see the guy. He was sat enthralled with the chicken nuggets and fries. He didn't see somebody walk behind him. Didn't hear somebody behind him taking controllers. His girlfriend obviously isn't paying attention either. Because his girlfriend, if he's got his back to it, his girlfriend is watching this, has to be seeing this happen.
There are 4 eyeballs that literally are either going to see behind the counter or in front of the counter.
Oh my God. Okay. Stu.
Studio. Uh-huh. So tell me.
Please tell me there's more.
So tell me that's a pretty good one, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, I thought you were going to say there was more. Did he?
I'm sure there was.
He had to know there were video cameras.
Wasn't my store at the time. Only going by what I actually saw on video. Okay. Woo!
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's all right, Tino.
Just the nuggets and the fries. How does she not see it?
He was like feeding him the chicken McNuggets. And that, like, you know, you get a cute little girl sitting there feeding you chicken McNuggets, you're not going to pay attention to anything else. But that just goes, but my favorite part of it is that he sat there and blamed them for firing him because he felt like the company didn't do enough for him.
They didn't prosecute his ass. Make him pay for that shit.
So it's a pretty good one, right?
That's a good one. That was a good one.
Not as good as the van.
That's still my favorite. Or the one with the customer threatening to do something that the dude got fired with the swords. That was a good one too.
That was a good one too. So, all right, Tino, I got to be real with you. I did not get to watch very much pro wrestling last week. What did I miss on Monday Night Raw?
Well, you know that RK Bro are the new tag team champions on Raw. Not a whole lot. You didn't miss a whole lot. Like I said, it was that forgettable. Lashley, I mean, I thought they were gonna make they had a match with Damian Priest and Sheamus, where it was a rematch for the U.S. title. That Sheamus lost at SummerSlam. I think then somehow Lashley came down to interfere, and then Drew McIntyre came down to interfere. So it ended up being a tag team match. You know how that always works.
Yeah.
Lashley and Sheamus were getting their asses handed to him, so Lashley decided he's going to take his belt and leave. Sheamus got pissed off and he got pinned. He went back and got in Lashley's face. So it looked like Sheamus was going to turn heel. I mean, turn face and face probably Lashley, but I don't know. I haven't watched Raw yet, so I don't know what's happened yet on that. It's probably about the exciting part. You know, Charlotte Flair, still Charlotte Flair. She's still a champion. I think they're breaking up. Oh, I think they're going to break up Nia and Shayna because they tagged against Rhea Ripley and Almost a Superhero, and Nia got distracted and lost the match. And Nia distracted the referee. Shayna got pinned by Nikki, and so Shayna's mad and she's blaming Nia. So I think they're about to split up.
That'll be interesting.
That's about it I can remember.
So, all right. Not much else to talk about Monday Night Raw, right? RK Bro, best thing going.
Yes.
Matt Riddle came out
finally did the pose
this week and said that he does not look at Roman as his high chief or his head of the table, and kind of made it look like Riddle was stepping out of bounds, if you will.
Well, they're about to do the shakeup.
Well, they are. And typically we have the SmackDown versus Raw champions at Survivor Series as well.
Yeah, but that's world champions. I don't think Riddle's just a tag champ. I don't think it would be Roman and Bobby, wouldn't it?
Well, you're right. You're right. But who's to say? Right? Like, this year could be different. It could be, hey, we're going to take this guy and put him against this. For all we know, it could be a classic Survivor Series match where it's going to be Roman, the Usos, and two other people versus RK Bro and whoever else, right? Wouldn't necessarily say Lashley in that situation because you want to have baby faces versus heels, but could be. You never know, right? Okay. So it's interesting to me to see where they might go with all that. At the same time, Tino,
that's the same thing from a couple weeks ago.
So the statement of NXT calm before the storm has taken on a new light.
I don't like that new logo.
Because we all got to see Samoa Joe become the NXT champion at the latest pay-per-view. But at the same time, how long will it last?
What, Joe's a champion or that version of NXT?
Well, tonight, for example, or Tuesday night, for example, you've got Tommaso Ciampa versus one of the British guys.
Yeah.
In what will be a hard-hitting romp and a fun battle. But if the edict is true of 6 foot and above and no guys under 30 or over 30, then I would anticipate that we're about to see a complete transition.
A mass exodus. Yeah.
And more than anything else, I tend to think I'm going to go a little off script here. Okay. Like I actually have like a couple things that I specifically set up on our list, but when it comes to the WWE guys that are still currently under contract, and it's specifically when it comes to the NXT guys, I look at it and I go, okay, after SummerSlam, Fox got Brock Lesnar and Becky Lynch, right? What did USA get?
Not a damn thing, and they're pissed about it.
So apparently this is causing a big stink backstage, right? And if the edict is we want nobody under 6 foot tall and we want 30 years and under, then that means getting rid of guys like Gargano. That means getting rid of guys like Ciampa. That means getting rid of guys like Thatcher. That means getting rid, so like it really means like a mass exodus, right?
Yep.
What if what it really means is that all of those guys get shifted over to Monday Night Raw?
And we've talked about this. I would love that, but they've got people on Raw that are not even using, and they got 3 hours. You know what I mean?
Well, and I agree. But what if they started, and granted, I'm begging here, but what if they actually started making it to where those programs were more wrestling than side subject, right? Like, let me ask you this, Tino. If you were a writer, right,
Mm-hmm.
and you got hired to write a story about these characters, wouldn't you prefer it if instead of having to write a story about the characters, you let them wrestle?
Yeah, you want to give them a little, but you want to give them a little bit of a background, not all the funny haha, but you a little bit of background so people can know them and care about them. Yes, I want to write them, tell your story in the ring, but you also want to give the people a little something about knowledge about them and why you should care for them. And you know what I mean?
Sure, but in essence, if you sit there and put two guys in the ring that don't like each other for whatever reason, it should be pretty quick and pretty simple to explain what that reasoning is. And on top of that, the wrestling aspect of it should make it more interesting to where you want to watch it next week too.
That's what ROH does.
Point taken, right?
Even Rampage is the hour. There's no filler in that. That's straight wrestling for an hour too.
We're going to talk about Rampage.
Okay. You didn't like it.
I didn't say that.
I could tell by the look.
No, because we're unfortunately, because we've been off for a week, we didn't get to talk about Rampage.
Yeah.
The Rampage.
The Rampage.
We didn't get to talk about that. So let me ask you. You want to go ahead and talk about it?
What do we got in NXT? Well, there's one funny. Okay, one thing. I got to talk about my 2 down moon. So did you see it this past week? You didn't see it this past week. So he went out there. They did their little celebration. DiBiase's like, "Hey, I knew you could do it." Da 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 da. He said, he kind of like passed the torch to him, and so DiBiase was leaving in his limo. And God, what's his name? Went out there and he's like, you're right, Ted. He goes, I want to thank you for all you did for me. You helped build me up, but I don't need this to complete my legacy. So he gave him the $1 million belt back, right? And so DiBiase said, oh, thank you. Yeah. He goes, but no, just as a symbol, I want you to you keep this. So he handed him another one, and then you could hear it like rattling. He goes, what? This doesn't sound right. It doesn't feel right. And he looked at it. He goes, $1 million belt replica. And DiBiase drove off. He's like, that damn DiBiase. But it went like, damn DiBiase. It was like, that damn DiBiase. Like, kind of like he got me again. But it was kind of cool though. So it was a cool way to close out that.
And that's the important thing, is they got to close out the storyline.
Yeah.
Because over the next couple weeks, we're gonna see a brand new NXT. And
because Vince did the trademark for AWA. I wonder why he did that.
He did what?
He trademarked, or he went the AWA. He did a trademark or went and bought the trade for AWA.
Well, it could be because he already owns the video library, and he's just making sure that nobody steals the AWA licensing.
But I'm wondering if he's going to do something with it with the new NXT.
I doubt it.
Okay.
His NXT is meant to be the next generation of superstars. Okay. And let's be real. Let's talk about this. Because so many people are upset about what's coming, right? And I can't say that I'm not, because I love the Undisputed Era. I love Ciampa and Gargano. I love what's been going on with Cameron Grimes, right? Like, everything you look at and everything that we go through with these guys has been an old school, true, take the indie guys and make it into a true promotion kind of thing, right? And that's never been what Vince wanted NXT to be. Vince literally took the ECW brand and said, we're going to repackage it. We're going to make it into our home-schooled version of how we make superstars. And that's what NXT was supposed to be. And if you remember correctly, he even went as far as to make it into a televised competition.
Yep.
And we knew the televised competition wasn't going to work.
Yeah.
But you can't tell me that when you have the Performance Center that you're not going to be able to take guys like Matt Bloom, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, William Regal, and actually teach people that don't know how to wrestle. You can't tell me that they won't be able to do it. They will be able to do it. And it will make it an interesting program. Will it make it competition to AEW? No. But will it allow WWE to sit there and say, hey, we just took this football player that reminded us of Goldberg, and maybe we can make the next Goldberg out of him?
Yes.
I think you can. And everybody wants to sit there and shit on everything that Vince McMahon does. They want to. But Tino, I keep trying to explain this week in, week out on our show, that Vince McMahon has figured out a way, along with Nick Khan, to bring in $6 billion in the last year for the company.
Yeah.
And let me ask you, when Steve Austin was there, were they bringing in $6 billion?
Steve Austin is a $6 million man.
$6 million man, not $6 billion man. So were they able to bring in $6 billion when Steve Austin was wrestling for the company?
Nah.
When The Rock was wrestling for the company, were they able to bring in $6 billion?
No.
So let me ask you, why is it that everybody else, in terms of your smart mark fans, and this, by the way, includes you, includes me, includes our friend Terrence, includes our friend CJ, includes all of our friends in the wrestling group on Facebook. Why in the world do we think we know better than they do how to make money with a pro wrestling company? Because I got to be real with you. As much as the needle got moved with a guy by the name of Phil Brooks over the past 2 weeks, AEW has still not brought in $6 billion worth of contracts. And I'm not saying they won't, mind you.
Okay.
I'm just saying that as of right now, you have major network TV, not cable TV. You have major cable TV. You have a streaming service that bought rights to your stuff. And you have an entire country paying $1 billion for you to show up twice a year on their land and soil. So let me ask you, why does everybody think that Vince McMahon is wrong? And don't think about this from a fan perspective. Think about this from a money-making perspective. Okay? And trust me, it is very hard to sit there and separate the two and go, okay, from a business-minded perspective, here's why this is this. Okay? I get that. But tell me, why is he wrong?
I mean, if he's a hustler, if he can make that money, and he's figured out a way to do it. I mean, I can't. You're not wrong.
And it doesn't matter how many of us sit there and tell him he's wrong. When the stock price continues to stay at a steady level or move up, we aren't going to move the needle. We aren't going to change their mind. It isn't like 2 years ago when right before the pandemic, when all of a sudden all the McMahons showed up on TV, including Triple H, and they said, we're going to start giving you what you want.
And they didn't.
Did they not? Because they brought in record revenue. They brought in record earnings. They brought in record profits. They had 2 WrestleManias where they really didn't have any fans in the stands. And yet you're trying to tell me they didn't give us what we wanted. And yet their numbers, while their ratings decreased on watching television, they made more money than they have ever made prior. So I'm going to go one step further and think that Universal doesn't necessarily think about ratings anymore. And that's going to be your Peacock and Monday Night Raw and NXT shows, right?
Mm-hmm.
They legitimately at this point are thinking, this is a $1.2 billion franchise over the course of 5 years for us.
What happens in 5 years?
And they're still bringing in record money right now. So as mad as they get, because and I'm going to say it right now, they get mad about this. Okay? They get mad about the fact that Brock Lesnar looks at Roman Reigns at SummerSlam. They get mad about the fact that Sasha Banks isn't cleared, so they have to do something with Becky Lynch to give Bianca Belair a new opponent. And I get all that. I get all of it. And yet, who ultimately gets to re-show all of that broadcasting?
They do. Peacock.
Exactly. So we can sit there and say they're so mad about this, and this. But if you missed it, you got to watch through Peacock. You got to watch through USA's programming. You got to like the fact that like everything we're hearing right now is Peacock's upset and Peacock's mad and Peacock.
USA.
I'll tell you right now, I think Peacock's mad because the programming sucks. Okay. And I think that overall, in the long term, if the programming continues to suck, guess what? People stop watching.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you have a mass exodus of NXT talent and they moved to Monday Night Raw. Now, we've already said, yeah, we don't know how to use all the Monday Night Raw talent that's there or whatever else. But what if all of a sudden it becomes an NXT style show?
Raw?
Yeah. Where you've got Tommaso Ciampa and you've got Matt Riddle going at it. You've got Timothy Thatcher going at it against Randy Orton. And you've got Keith Lee being a monster heel. And you've got all of this NXT talent being moved over to Raw because they really want the NXT show and programming to be a new era of learning and training and everything else. Like, what's to stop that? Like, Ciampa's not 30 years and younger. Ciampa's not 6 foot tall. Like, so we have to assume that a guy like him has a spot. Now, granted, I think him versus Rich, whatever his name is, Ciampa's going to lose on Tuesday.
Rich Holland.
Huh?
Rich Holland.
Yeah, I think Ciampa's going to lose because Ciampa's one of those guys that, while we all agree that when it comes to the NXT Mount Rushmore, Tommaso Ciampa's head is firmly planted in the number 1 or number 2 spot there, right?
With Gargano.
With Gargano, with probably Samoa Joe being the only 3-time champion. And then you start thinking about, okay, Finn Balor was a 2-time champion. Adam Cole was the longest term champion, like whatever. But let's be real. It's been Gargano, it's been Ciampa, it's been Samoa Joe, right?
Yes.
So you look at that. But if we go by this theory of what NXT is supposed to become, none of those guys fit the bill. Now, granted, you keep Samoa Joe there because Samoa Joe actually is holding your title belt.
Okay.
Kind of got to keep him there, right?
Yeah.
Same thing with the United or the North American champion and the women's champion. Okay, cool. Now Raquel Gonzalez probably is under 30 years old, but she is over 6 foot tall. So okay, we can leave her there. The North American champion. Who is the North American champion? I don't even remember at this point. Swerve. Swerve is under 30. He's a little bit under 6 foot tall, but he's got a group around him that is also under 30 and whatever, right? So okay, I kind of see them all being there and doing their thing or whatever.
And then you get the tag champ MSK. They're under 60.
Like
they're also
24 years old.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, you can leave them there but would you leave them there, or do you move them up to Monday Night Raw or whatever and have them face off against whomever's, because Monday Night Raw right now, the tag team champions, it's honest to God, Monday Night Raw is like Monday Nitro, where like you just put 2 guys together and you say, hey, you're going to win the tag championship this weekend. That's just how it is. But I see a world where Vince gets what he wants with NXT and still gets to utilize the talent that is in NXT right now as mainstream talent. Okay. I see a world where that could happen. Now, I don't know what's going on in Vince's head. Dude's a crazy ass codger that, like 6 minutes after he takes a dump, he changes his mind. Right. So I don't know. But I kind of see that like he wanted to keep Adam Cole for a reason. Now, granted, do I think Adam Cole signs with NXT or WWE? Fuck no. Like being the elite started doing, first of all, they killed Adam Cole in one of the episodes when he left to go become part of WWE, right? They killed him. Well, now they're doing seances and trying to resurrect the dead. Okay? So if I had to guess, Adam Cole is all elite.
Well, because DMD's there.
That doesn't mean anything. I mean, look at Malachi Black and Zelina Vega.
And what they're doing is Zelina. I think she'll probably leave and go too.
So let me put it this way. Zelina Vega is more prominent now than she was when she was Andrade's manager.
But she's getting squashed every week.
She is, but she is in a prominent spot where she is being looked at as like, and this is a girl who hasn't won a match since she came back. And yet for some reason she keeps getting main event slots.
Yeah.
So somebody believes that she's main event worthy.
I'm gonna need that person. I'm gonna need that somebody to get behind my boy Kevin.
Yeah.
What's up with Brock's man bun and beard? The fuck.
All right. You brought that up. I was gonna just talk. I wasn't even gonna talk about it. Brock doesn't give a fuck.
I know.
And Brock Lesnar.
He came out in jeans. I never seen him come out in jeans in my life.
Oh, I could picture him coming out in jeans. But I'm going to tell you right now, the fact that son of a bitch came out with a man bun.
And a full beard.
Well, no, he's come out with a full beard before. He's never come out with a man bun.
I guess it's the man bun. The head was shaved except for the man bun.
He basically sat there and said, you called me on my time. Now, granted, the next time we see him, almost guaranteed he'll have that flat top, that goatee, and it'll be Brock Lesnar, right?
You think?
Oh, yeah.
You don't think he's going to keep that look?
No. Now, because Vince McMahon is going to sit there and say, your action figure looks like this.
But like you just said, though, at this point, Brock doesn't give a fuck. Brock doesn't need WWE.
Brock doesn't give a fuck, but Brock sits there and accepts his contract. And I'll put it to you this way. Brock's contract right now, from the way everybody's looking at it, is for 8 matches over a year and a half. Okay? His last couple contracts were for like 3 years and 12 total matches. So he's going to wrestle more often now than he did back then.
Okay.
They're going to make Brock look like what Brock Lesnar needs to look like to be the beast. But when he shows up in a one-off, they've done it before. They don't care.
Yeah, because he's going face, and
you know what I think it really is, Tino? I'm gonna be real with you. They were negotiating with him up until he walked out on stage.
You think?
Oh, fuck yeah. And Paul Heyman was sitting there, and he's like, Brock, I'll tell you right now, that sounds like a good deal. And Brock is sitting there saying, they want me to cut my ponytail, Paul. I like my ponytail. Reba likes my ponytail.
Reba.
Rena. Whatever Sable's real name is.
Yeah, Reba. He ain't married to McIntyre.
Like I said, Rena. I don't know what her name is, but that's just it. Is that like he's sitting there going, well, you guys take your time. You guys try to put together the money. Here's the deal. I'm just going to walk out on stage looking like this. And they don't want him to look like that. But you know what? That's Brock putting them in a holding pattern where he's going to get what Brock wants. And that's why the joke is that they back up the Brinks truck and Brock sits there and gets what he wants from it. And there aren't many people that do that. I mean, think about when Brock first showed back up in 2012, so 9 years ago, and he wore Jimmy John's trunks.
Yeah,
because he still had a licensing agreement with Jimmy John's.
Yeah, I do remember that.
And Jimmy John's was like probably sitting there going, "Hey, you still owe us because you didn't fight the UFC for these 3 other matches." And he was like, "Tell you what, I know I'm going to win these matches in WWE. How about we just move that contract over to the WWE?" And WWE sat there and was like, "Well, fuck, go ahead." You know, like,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
So, all right. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Becky Lynch and Brock Lesnar. Becky Lynch looks like she's becoming a heel.
Yeah.
Which is stupid.
Why?
Well, it's what Vince wanted to do with her in the first place. And then she became the man.
But she's not the man this time. I don't think she's going to be the man.
Well, that's just it, right? Now it's literally looking like Vince McMahon sitting there saying, "You want to come back? You're coming back under my terms, which is what I wanted to do with you in the first place." Am I wrong?
No, but they cheered her. They did turn her heel for a while, but the people just started because she was so Stone Cold-esque. People
It was
started
like 6 days. 6 days of them trying to turn her heel, and the crowd booed it off the atmosphere.
Cheered it off.
No, they booed it off. They booted it. They booted it. But hold on.
I thought you said they booed it off.
Let's talk about. You ready?
Yeah.
Look in my eyes. What do you see?
He got the Jericho treatment.
The cult of personality.
He got the Jericho treatment. They sang that song over the music. That I was like, wow. And
So,
he dropped the hint about. He also dropped the hint about Bryan Daniels.
Well, let you know what, we haven't been on the air for since he showed up.
Yeah, because I don't think.
So he showed up on Rampage.
And then you went on vacation.
And then I went on vacation.
Okay.
And then he showed up on Dynamite. And he's even shown up on Rampage after that, right? How did it make you feel?
Excited. It made me feel. It was an awesome feeling. I'm excited because he's got fresh competition. I think he'll be able to. I don't think he'll be handcuffed like he was at WWE, and I think that's the point. AEW lets them do more career control, and they're not. Because that's the difference between Moxley and Ambrose. You know what I mean?
So, yes, I know exactly what you mean. At the same time, I have a big question to ask.
Oh, hell.
No. Do you consider yourself a smart mark?
Yeah.
You
try
are.
to. Yeah.
Even if you aren't, you know that I am, right? Like we know more about the inside and the outside of the industry than we're supposed to know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I am a smart mark.
CM Punk at All Out.
Okay.
Guaranteed to now be the biggest pay-per-view buy that AEW has ever done, right?
Yep.
Okay. Who's the main event?
Omega and Christian.
Why?
For the title.
What's the most important match?
The main event.
Is it?
Supposedly.
No. Is it?
It's not. No, it's going to be.
And stop trying to be the guy that's just going, okay, the answer is the most important match, the championship match, because it's got the two championships on the line. It's not.
It's CM Punk and Darby Allin, which is probably going to be overshadowed by Daniel Bryan showing up.
Maybe. And I'll explain how you fix that. Because the original rumor was that Daniel Bryan's going to show up in Queens on September 13th or whatever day that is. Now, with the rumors that there's going to be enhanced masks and everything else, that it's going to cause more trouble with the amount of people that they can actually get in the buildings, blah, blah, blah. Now they're trying to push Daniel Bryan up to All Out. And by the way, I would move Daniel Bryan up to All Out, and here's why. You don't want CM Punk being bigger than your business. Because when CM Punk suddenly sits there and goes, I want to be champion, you want to be able to sit there and say, we have plenty of people that have worked their asses off to be there first. And he goes, but hold on, I sold out the United Center when you didn't even tell people that I was going to be there. I did this, and I moved more t-shirt sales than this, and this. And by the way, there's a guy out there that throughout the 80s did that exact motion. Do you know who it was?
Hulk Hogan.
Hulk Hogan. So under no circumstance do you ever want your business to be smaller than one person. This is also why Vince McMahon is afraid of creating the next Rock. CM Punk is bigger than AEW.
Yeah.
He's proven that.
Yes.
They literally brought him out 10 days before a pay-per-view, and he got the most overreaction they have ever gotten. This is when you have Cody, Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, Chris Jericho. And by the way, 3 days before that, Chris Jericho got the biggest reaction they've ever gotten.
Yeah.
Okay? But it took 3 days for CM Punk's reaction to be bigger than the biggest reaction they have ever gotten. Yep. And to sell out the biggest arena that they have ever decided to try to be in. So here's the deal. You need CM Punk to continue selling tickets. You need him to be in the main event. He's going to be. Is he going to be in his first pay-per-view? No, because he's the kind of guy that's going to be like, hey, I get that you just brought me in. I get that your company likes building stars and blah, blah, blah to get you there. So I'm okay going off in the second hour. But you keep having me show up and I keep getting the best reaction, you're going to put me in the main event. You're going to have me win the world title. And then what's there for me?
Nada.
Am I wrong?
No.
Does it scare you?
Yes. That'll go away again.
Like, if I were Adam Cole tomorrow, would I like the opportunity to have a match against CM Punk? Abso-fucking-lutely. But if I knew that there was no chance that I could be CM Punk, I would actually start thinking about my future and going, I'm going to sign a 1-year deal with someone else.
Yeah.
So that I can be the CM Punk. So a year from now, when it comes up and they say, we want to bring you in, it's not going to be, hey, bring Adam Cole in and we're gonna start him at the bottom. No, fuck that. You're gonna start Adam Cole after he takes a year away from the WWE's NXT system, maybe even headlining fucking WrestleMania, mind you, because they're that serious about wanting to keep Adam Cole. And then have him show up and go, oh, CM Punk, you think you're that big? I just headlined 100,000 people. And what did you do? 15,000 people at United Center? Fuck it, that's your hometown. Like, seriously, that's how you do it.
So why are you saying they need Bryan Danielson?
They don't need Bryan Danielson
to come in. No, I've said that he was going to overshadow CM Punk and at the pay-per-view, and you said they need him to, or he needs to.
He won't overshadow Punk, but I'll tell you, the perfect spot to bring him in, and I mean this, the perfect spot to bring him in is to have him help Jericho win over MJF.
What's that?
Does Bryan Danielson need a championship belt?
No. Neither does Punk, though.
But you also don't want MJF going after your belt right now, right?
So Danielson keeps him occupied.
And keeps Jericho looking like the babyface that he is and allows him to suddenly be the Brock Lesnar wrestler character. Now, Jericho could sit there and still do commentary whenever the fuck he wants, whatever. But we all know that he wants to go back on tour with Potsy. But sitting there and failing to beat MJF in 4 attempts, means that he's done. So he's got to win. And they could do it simply by Jericho looks like he's gonna lose the match, whatever, and they point out Bryan Danielson in the stands. Bryan Danielson pops MJF. Jericho sits there, rolls him into the ring, gets the 1, 2, 3, and then you immediately have MJF versus Bryan Danielson. So you have a guy who, A, doesn't need the title in Danielson, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you have a guy that you want to build towards the title with MJF, but you know it shouldn't be in the title picture because he's leaving the Jericho situation, right?
Right.
And you suddenly have all of it taken care of. By the way, this is why I should book this shit. Tell me I'm wrong, man. Did I just book an entire pay-per-view of like amazingness? I think I did.
You didn't book it. You just said that you just talked. You said the CM Punk. No, I mean, sorry, Bryan Danielson, MJF. You didn't say anything about the CM Punk, Darby Allin. You didn't say anything about the championship match. You just set up one feud.
No. I set up the next pay-per-view. Darby Allin versus CM Punk. CM Punk, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who wins that match. It matters who wins the Chris Jericho versus MJF match. You know what else doesn't matter? It doesn't matter if the Young Bucks retain their championship. It doesn't matter if Kenny Omega retains his championship. It doesn't matter on any of that shit. In fact, the fact that Kenny Omega already lost to Christian means that we know that Christian's going to lose to Kenny Omega.
What? Chris Barrett's in the chat.
Chris Barrett's in the chat?
Yeah. And we're going to roll out. He comes in the chat.
All that matters is that we have a new NWA champion. He's absolutely right. Trevor Murdoch.
He beat Nick Aldis? Trevor Murdoch.
Murdoch. Harley Race's final student beat Nick Aldis in his over 1,000-day reign as champion. Tino.
Trevor Murdoch. I wouldn't have thought Trevor Murdoch. I would never thought Trevor Murdoch.
The question is whether or not he's a transitional champion.
Probably.
That's the worry. But, you know, with names like Bray Wyatt and Braun Strowman going around, could you imagine if all of a sudden at the next NWA Power, Braun Strowman shows up and he sits there and says, how about you get these hands?
He's going to Impact.
That's the rumor.
Because he's going to Impact because they already said because they did a thing with
You mean Braun for Glory?
That, and then he also on his Twitter page he said sometimes you got to make an impact. So they're dropping hints.
So you're right, except for the fact that the last time Scott D'Amore said all that stuff, he mentioned like 6 different possible opponents for the women's champion, and only one of them became true.
We'll see.
Chris Barrett. I love it. I love it, sir. Curtis Axel as the next NWA champion. I hope you've been paying attention to what we've been saying here, by the way, tonight, Chris Barrett. Because I have been off the rails.
Yeah.
And yet, I already gave what would be a better pay-per-view than what the WWE has given us. Tino?
Yeah. It's time to go.
Hold on.
Ah, Jesus.
Did you notice that on AEW Dynamite this week that CM Punk was the first person to not be smitten by Tony Schiavone?
What do you mean?
Like when Sting showed up, he had to stop everybody and be like, I'm sitting here with Tony Schiavone, right? And yet the only thing CM Punk did to basically explain it was, Tony, you're going to have to repeat that. I couldn't hear you.
I think he was making a point, making a joke that I don't think he
was. But everybody else has made it seem like Tony Schiavone is the interviewer you want to be interviewed by. Right? And CM Punk basically just took the mic from him. And then if you actually watched the Rampage after the bell, you got to see CM Punk come back out to the ring. And you got to see him talk about how as long as people still care about him walking down to the ring, he's going to continue walking down to the ring to deliver these types of messages. Curtis Axel deserves to win the belt that neither his father nor his grandfather could win. I'm going to say right now that Curtis Axel is one of the best hands that the wrestling industry knows, and yet we probably don't get to see him wrestling for any championship, even though he truly does deserve to be up for it, because when you look at matches like John Cena versus The Rock at WrestleMania 28 and 29, Joe was the reason why The Rock actually performed so well in those matches. Now, granted, it was The Rock's intestinal fortitude that allowed him to wrestle those matches with a torn pectoral muscle and finish the match. However, it truly was the fact that he trained with Joe Hennig that allowed him to really, truly show that he deserved to be there. Chris Barrett says that CM Punk is basically 1997 Hogan. We kind of talked about this a little bit, that CM Punk is bigger than AEW currently. Didn't we? So Chris Barrett showed up a little bit late. The fact of the matter is that CM Punk is bigger than where he's wrestling. And he only signed with that company because he does think, and Tino, tell me if I'm wrong here, he does think that his presence in AEW could be the stake in the heart of WWE.
And it very well could be. Him and Brian.
Could it? Let me ask you, and I'll be real with you, and here's the fact. We've already talked about the $6 billion.
You did. But if people stop watching, like you said.
But they're not stopping watching. That's the fucked up thing about it. Chris Barrett, I don't know if I believe all that. But Tino, it's oh man. WWE has proven that they have been able to stand the test of time. Now, granted, I truly believe that they are making the same mistakes that WCW made in the early and late 90s. I feel that. I've talked to you about it. We have said it on the air. At the same time, they're bringing in more money now than they have ever brought in the past. You can't say that a company is making the wrong decisions if they continue to sell billion-dollar franchises worth of tickets and sales and dollars and figures and merch. You can't.
Okay.
I want to. I really want to believe that that is the way it goes. But $6 billion over the past 12 months versus AEW keeps spending and there's been nothing to explain how much money they're bringing in. I'm not saying they're not profitable. I'm not saying that they're not making money. I'm not saying that any of that stuff. But you were like, when AEW was first announced, the number one thing that got said was Vince McMahon is worth $2 billion, right?
Mm-hmm.
Shah Khan is worth $6 billion, right?
Mm-hmm.
The TV agreements alone for WWE are worth $4 billion. And the TNT one was worth like 250 million.
Okay.
So what makes you think that they're going to put them out of business? Right now, there is nothing that they can do to put them out of business. All they can do and all they can continue to be, which by the way is the smart decision, is the alternative. Right?
Okay.
Am I wrong?
No. I think at some point though, the alternative, because that's what WCW was when it started that ratings war. They were the alternative, and they came up from behind. WWE Vince has been at it longer, and I agree he's smarter probably because he's been at it longer. But I have to think there's a time where AEW will come up. They'll figure out. They've only been 2 years. They'll figure out what they're doing. They'll get their feet wet. They'll get their feet under them, and I gotta think they're going to come up and give him a run for his money. And it may not be next year. It may not be 5 years from now.
I think until AEW can run a show that rivals WrestleMania, Vince doesn't look at them as competition. And I wish that wasn't the case because we've proven and we've seen that AEW is selling out arenas where WWE can't do it.
Yeah.
Now, at the same time, SummerSlam had 35,000 people in it, and the AEW, sure, they got 15,000 in the United Center, but WWE didn't even tell you what the whole card was for SummerSlam, and they were able to get 35,000 people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And see, this is just that. Chris Barrett understands what I'm trying to say, and I don't even think that it's 50,000 tickets, okay? Because WWE is going to give away 10,000 tickets to those shows. The fact remains, though, that if AEW can't walk into Dallas, where the WWE sits there and has 102,000 people show up and do 102,000 people, WWE doesn't look at them as competition.
Yeah.
They look at them as the Arena Football League. There are markets where the Arena Football League will probably do 15,000 fans. Chris Barrett saying that SummerSlam had 51,000. I don't believe that's actually true. At least I don't think that's sold tickets. But either way, if you can't sell out a stadium, you can't compete. And that's where I agree. I think the WWE realizes that they don't even have to tell you what the main event of WrestleMania is going to be, and they can still sell out 100,000 people at WrestleMania. Yeah. Whereas AEW kind of has to tell you what's going on to give you an idea of why you want to be there in the audience.
Oh.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far, Chris Barrett.
Oh.
But I will say that the AEW XFL statement, Dwayne The Rock Johnson actually owns the XFL at this point, and don't be surprised if he makes something out of it. Tino, I got really nothing else, man.
Neither.
And unfortunately, we don't have music tonight, folks, because my brand new phone isn't giving me the ability to.
Well, it's
play
pissed
shit.
off at you because you slammed it in a car door.
That could be true. That could be true. Anyways, so I really don't have anything else, Tino.
Me neither. I gotta go to bed. I gotta get up ass crack of dawn.
And I gotta work late shift tomorrow, and I hate late shift.
Yeah, but you don't have to. You don't have to get up early. You can kind of sleep in.
I don't ever sleep in.
I'm
I'll
sorry.
be up at 7:30 tomorrow morning.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly. So, with that said, Tino, why don't you take us out of here?
You can catch him on the Twitter machine at Podcheck. You can catch me Hootie Fan 91 on the Insta. I'm SC Tino. He is Rob Podcheck. On the TikTok, he is Rob Podcheck.
Rob Potsy Podcheck.
Yeah, Potsy Podcheck. I'll learn it. You can check the show out on Twitter with Potsy and Tino, Facebook with Potsy and Tino Show. You're checking us out on YouTube right now as it is, so make sure you subscribe and like. And as always, I think that's it. I think come on.
Sorry, I just want to hold you up for a second. You know why I ordered the new CM Punk T-shirt?
Why?
Because I'm a CM Punk fan.
Wanted to get the ice cream bar.
No. I don't like vanilla ice cream. I like chocolate ice cream. So I would not like the ice cream bar. But I did order the new T-shirt.
How much did that bitch cost you though? They said they were expensive. I was going to order one too, and I was like, I heard how expensive they were. I'm like, nah. What'd you pay?
So the shirt itself was $29.99. Then you add $3 for buying it in 2XL. And then you add the shipping charges to it. And before you know it, it's $40 fucking dollars.
Oh, that's not bad.
$40 for a T-shirt?
Yeah.
Where am I buying it from? Lucky Brand?
As always, we want to say thank you to Adam's House Cats for the wrestling song, which is our theme song. You can catch them on iTunes for 99 cents. I'm just gonna I can't with you anymore. For 99 cents. As always, Ric Flair's somewhere and he's saying, "Woo, good night." Peace.
Good night, everybody.
I can't with you. Good night.
Oh yeah, we got more messages from Chris Barrett.
Later.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Good night. Sorry I don't have music.
Goodbye.
We're out of here.